Hi, welcome to One-Click Factory webinar for technical code changes in Business Central 2021 release V1 or Business Central IT. So I will be presenter today. I'm Ugnis Ignatavičius and I'm Senior Dynamics NEV expert and Business Central with over 8 years of experience in various roles, growing from a developer to lead developer, and currently I am Business Central team lead. I participated in 400 plus upgrade projects and have extensive knowledge from NEV 3.7 to latest Business Central release. Questions can be asked in full webinar in the Q&A section, so please ask those and we will try to answer when we will see them. And in the end, we will have also questions and answer session, short session. The overall changed object code count, we released One-Click Factory blog post, which contains technical code changes. And this is our overview, which parameters we are tracking. And you see we are tracking from starting Business Central 15 version to the current release. And we can explain in next slides what these parameters mean. And also we will give our insights. So today's agenda will be to review firstly preprocessor directives in EL, how we can clean up code and be in the future. And of course, the related functionality which Microsoft released in Business Central 17 is also feature management. Then we will review a still remaining obsolete pending functionality, which is currently still pending and it is not removed. And yeah, it is marked for removal in the next releases. The new obsolete pending functionality which appeared in the current release, and new obsolete removed functionality, which previously was pending and now it is removed. So what has been changed? And also technological advancements, what Microsoft new technical advancements were introduced in this version. And like I said, we will give our insights what those numbers mean and what is expected in the future. So first theme is the preprocessor directives. Microsoft is adding from the Business Central 17 these preprocessor symbols, clean 15, 16, 17, and 18. And you see the results are increasing. They are surrounded by if, else, and if statements. And when they are activated, they can be activated in the app.json, in the preprocessor symbols property. And if you add this symbol, then the if statement gets, if statement treats that symbol is true, and it hides or shows a different code for the compiler. And it's also very useful to remove current pending functionality if you want to use it. So for example, in the right example, if we would add preprocessor symbol clean 18, this table relation would be not visible for the compiler, and obsolete state would be not pending anymore, but it will be removed. Of course, if there is no preprocessor symbol, then clean 18 symbol is false. So if not false is true, code will be left as is pending. Also, functions also can be hidden with using these symbols. Also, a feature management, which is a separate functionality from the preprocessor functionality. A feature becomes available after few minor releases, not in the major release. You can enable it in the feature management page. And of course, Microsoft is giving a timeline when the feature will be automatically enabled, so you can do it ahead of time. And by reviewing the Business Central 17 feature management places, the 4 were enabled already in the Kronos Business Central 17 version. We are reviewing RTM version. And also 3 of the 4 enabled issues were set from Microsoft that they will be automatically enabled from next release. So these are maybe enabled features if you are creating a new environment, adding new customer. Of course, I would recommend to enable all of them. But if you are currently using this version, I would recommend to enable these ones which are enabled in Kronos, because when you would test something in Kronos and these features are enabled, they cannot be disabled anymore. So you could have different results in Kronos testing database than you would have in your live environment. Then the Business Central 18 has only 3 enabled. And as you see, maybe you didn't see, but there is one record which was moved from the current to the next release. So overall, 2 features were automatically enabled, bank reconciliation and action bar. In dialogues, they were enabled in Kronos 17 already. And as you saw, there was 4 items enabled, 1 item enabled, which was disable integration management, but it is still, we are waiting for Business Central 19 to come, as it was said in the Business Central 17 version, but it is enabled also in Business Central 18. And also check financial journals, it is also enabled from Business Central 17 and 18. And again, we are waiting for Business Central 19 to be automatically enabled for everyone. And there was a feature update, write longer item references. Item references were introduced in the Business Central 16, as I remember, we will see, and it's going to be automatically enabled from 19th version. And you see the date is now enabled in Business Central 18, but these write longer item references, the 4th line, it was written in the Business Central 17 already, and you see it was said that it will be enabled from Business Central 18, but in 18 we see that item references moved by 2 quarters or to the next major release. So overview, that we see some features can change update dates, and of course to the future, but also we see also 2 new features which were introduced in the Business Central 18, and one of them is very important, the new sales pricing experience. This is a major update also introduced in Business Central 16, which covers around 400 objects, and this feature is going to be released automatically from Business Central 20 after 1 year from now. So also it helps to plan for the future updates and not only gives the possibility to enable it ahead of time. So let's review still remaining obsolete pending functionality in the Business Central 18 version. First is the invoicing, Microsoft invoicing. In Business Central 15, it was pending. In Business Central 18, there are some removed places, but also some new pending places due to this invoicing. So maybe Again, this can be a reason if there are new places appeared to be obsoleted. So that's why obsolete tag 15 is still pending, because we need also to remove all the related functionality. Then there is a template table. It's still pending from Business Central 15. Maybe if you have done any upgrade to Business Central 15 plus versions, you already implemented this functionality to CodeUnit, but as you see, this functionality is still pending and you can still use this table. Then standard reports were numbered to new IDs. Again, this was introduced in the Business Central 15.2 version. It's still pending, so again, we can still use these reports. Then system ID, system last modified, they were added to all the tables from the Business Central 15 version, and there were 35 pending places with this obsolete reason, and Microsoft is still increasing the count of those pending places, and maybe this is also the reason why it's still pending and why it's not removed. Centralized template, again, this code was introduced quite in old version 1 year ago in Business Central 16. And as you see, preprocessor directives with clean 18 were added to hide these old templates functionality, but it is still pending. CRM tables were updated with enums, a lot of them, so many option fields replaced by enum fields. And again, from Business Central 16, it's still pending and it's not removed. Same with the embed URL expansion. As you see, there is a field 10 with 2000 text length, but still embed URL text of 250 still exists. And again, as you see, clean 16 preprocessor can be used to remove this leftover. Price calculation, I already mentioned that in the feature management, it said that it will be automatically enabled from next year's Business Central 20 release. And again, the reason could be why it's still not yet removed is because Microsoft is adding more functionality to it, and it's still developing it. So currently, there are 143 pending places from all the releases, and also there are 19 functions which are related to be also obsoleted. And this is a very big change, not only from the 162 obsolete states which will become removed, but also with the complex interface new introduced functionality. And you see it's now a better functionality than it was before. It's more expandable, more reusable in the extensions, but it's quite different, and I would suggest already to plan some time until next year release to implement this functionality and use new. Business Central 17 attached files in email item table were replaced with one procedure, and it's still pending. And there are no processor symbols to remove this still. But with table type temporary, this new type was introduced in the Business Central 17 version, that any buffer tables which don't hold any data can have a table type property temporary. It would work the same way as the pages with source table temporary have worked. And temporary tables would not be seen in the SQL, so it may work a bit faster, but the principle is very the same to use RAM. And as you see, at some tables, the very popular table is invoice posting buffer. You can use a table type temporary with preprocessor clean 18 symbol, but dimension set entry buffer, which is also very popular, it doesn't have any symbol to make it removed. But still it's pending, and in future it will become temporary. Microsoft also reviewed in Business Central 17 the sales line subform empty pages. They were leftovers even from classic client customer sales history form. And it's still pending to be removed, but I'm happy that Microsoft is cleaning the objects, and hopefully it will be removed quite soon already. And editing in Business Central 17 also was pending. You can export layout, changing, and then changed it and import it again. But to edit it, like in the Windows client, it's not possible anymore in the client. But again, it's still pending. It's not working even. It gives an error, but you can remove this action by using clean 17 preprocessor symbol. Item reference, this one was moved from the current to the next release. And again, the reason may be related that 4 new obsolete states appeared, that Microsoft added 2 new obsolete reasons. And maybe there were obsolete reasons in Business Central 17 introduced, and maybe there was no time planned to remove 100 pending places related to item reference functionality in such a short time. So that's why item reference functionality was replanned to be removed after 1 year, according to Microsoft rules of pending functionality. But as you see, you can again use preprocessor symbol clean 17 to remove displays, remove cross-reference numbers, and use new bigger item reference number instead. Beta version API was also marked as obsolete in Business Central 17 and also in Business Central 18. In 17, there were only 16 places marked as obsolete pending, but in 18, 58 new places were introduced. And Microsoft is removing, Microsoft is open and saying that this feature will be removed from Business Central Release Wave 2 from Business Central 19. And all relations, if you are using this functionality, should be moved to version 2 of the standard APIs instead of using this beta version 1 API. Then in Business Central 17, native objects were marked as to be removed, and there is no saying or obsolete reason why. Maybe it was not used commonly. Then user tasks were regrouped to another role centers activities instead being in each one activity. So it's a small change, but as you see, it is pending, but it's made visible false. So already you cannot see my user tasks or requests to approve. You see the new activities instead of old already. And finally, file management was reviewed. It is not working correctly from Business Central 15. as it is always throwing an error if you try to use any client's procedure. So it was reviewed in the Business Central 17.3 multi-update free version, and many obsolete functions were made as obsolete, and yeah, you can even clean it with clean 17 preprocessor symbol, which I very recommend to do. Email accounts were moved to system applications in Business Central 17, but still it is have pending functionality. It's still visible, and that's it from the older releases. But in Business Central 18, they are still pending, and hopefully many of them will be removed in the next release. But what is new in the Business Central 18? So we saw repeating with already pending functionality places like API beta version in 17, sales price functionality in 16 were introduced, and those new functionalities maybe again would be a reason why these functionalities are still pending and still not removed. But there are new. So one first is the sales document numbers reports. All these were marked as pending. And Microsoft reason is that they are infrequently used. So if you are using one of these reports, you now will see a warning that it is marked as pending. Also, intelligent cloud insights in queue groups and some functions were marked as pending, and it is not even visible anymore because it was discontinued, and you can clean it with the preprocessor symbol. Regex.net, which was in the base application, was moved into the system application. And you see from now these code units which hold .NET regex, obsolete pending. And there is a new regex implementation code unit in the system application which holds a very similar functionality. Then removed duplicate functionality in role centers. Microsoft introduced in Cogwheel the assisted setup, advanced settings, and information. And this is also aligned with Office applications. Everything should be, all setups, main setups, general setups should be in this Cogwheel. And as they appeared here, they are being removed from the role centers because of duplicate functionality. Then legacy GL entry locking, even from classic client, it still exists, but you can remove it with Clean 18 because it's no longer supported from this version. So GL entries are not locked, are not being locked, disable, because from even RTC version, each session has already lockings. That's it from news. What is still new pending and what is new obsolete removed, which is most critical part to know. So error message field has been increased, only 3 new places in Business Central 18, and in Business Central 15 it was only 6 places which were removed. So again, this is a repeating with already removed functionality in older versions. A new removed state is in the job queue entry field, which was moved to the status. So this field should not be used anymore. You see 0 references in the base application, and you should use this option instead of this field to implement this. Then blob replaced by images. Finally, from Business Central 15 many picture fields which hold picture in blob, where marked as pending to hold images in media and to have media sets. So tables affected also are quite commonly used, like contact, customer, vendor, resource, job, and so on. And you should use a new image field. Of course, please look if blob images are moved to media. I think in the Business Central 15, there is this function to move pictures to images, but if you were still using picture blob sizes, blob source expressions, and still use this picture field instead of image, so you may have some images to transfer to new field. Then VAT group management extension, it was created in previous versions, and all these relations 27 fields and other objects were removed. So you should use now this new extension created. And that's it from remove. There were some other not affecting removed states, for example, in CRM or Power BI pages, but they are not commonly used from my experience for all the partners, and they were even introduced in news in only Business Central 15. So I think we don't need to look those. And you can easily find them in the Business Central base application by filtering removed state objects. So going to the next slides, so I will talk about technological enhancements, which is also news from this new release. Report extensions. So this was a top request from our community in the Microsoft feature requests, and it was approved and finally released by Microsoft. It has some limitations to create report extension object. You can only add some things. So the limitation is you cannot modify it, and I don't think you could modify anything in the future with this report extension object. And also report extension layout, it is only one layout which can be uploaded and selected in the report layout selection from custom layout. And the example how it looks, again, these pictures are from Microsoft. So you can add one field with table extension and add this field to the report extension, which is extending customer top 10 list. You can add a field in the request page and add a request page code and these two triggers, but nothing more is supported. So like I said, you can add something, and you can apply a custom layout, load it with, and you could see already this from base table extension columns, which you can use in the layout. Then new AL objects were introduced. Entitlement, which is licensing, a licensing object. So every object which is entitled to use according to the license, it is now described in the entitlement object. Until now, it was in the data. This was data, and now it is this data is exported to the object. And it's also the same with the permission set. So permissions are described which objects can different users can use. You can add those permission sets by each users, user groups, and so on. And now this permission set data is exported to new IL objects, which also are named permission sets. And you can extend those permission sets if you had any changes. Create those changes in permission set extensions. But still, you can use the XML format or data as you used in the earlier versions. Only standard permission sets were moved to new objects. And also, if you want, you can convert your XML or your data to this new permission set object and have it in your extension, so it would automatically see your permission sets. And this is the example how now in Business Central 18, the permission sets are being viewed, and you can see even which different extension holds which different permission set. And another news, interfaces have new properties, obsolete state. So you can mark it as pending interfaces, but there is no removed state. I think this is related also that this interface object in future may change or may become pending and removed because of implementation. So Microsoft added this functionality to support the changes. And the L complex types, which are most also seen by developers, most known maybe. So you can return a complex types from the function and use that type functions. So for example, if procedure returns a record, you can already use the record function already, or assign this record to another record. So our insights from all this information which I showed to you is again put in this one page in these tracking parameters, which we do with each version, and I will go through them in the next slides. So the Business Central 18, there are 92 fewer option fields and 56 new enum objects. This is a bit decreasing. As you see, enum objects in the Business Central 16, more than 100, and in the 17, more than 100 were created. In the Business Central 18, only 56 enum objects were introduced. And at current rate, all options will be removed only in the Business Central 25th version in 3.5 years. And to prioritize any needed enums, you need to become options to become enums. You can add those requests to Microsoft GitHub. Next is that we see many changes. The most changed objects in the customer solutions. So in sales posting, purchase posting, item journal posting line coordinates, and purchase line sales header tables, there were many lines changed in the new version. But Microsoft didn't change any logic. The code was moved into separate procedures, and a lot of more standard event publishers were added. So again, this is related that these objects are most commonly used by customers to be modified. So that's why Microsoft put a lot of effort in these objects, regrouped them, and made more extendable for customers to not have missing parts where there is no standard publisher. And the fact that 1,000, 2,000 lines were changed may seem a lot, but the code logic hasn't been changed and it was enhanced or reorganized to make it more extendable. And this is the example from the sales post code units. I think everyone who did few upgrades know sales posting code units in their mind. So these two were placed into new functions, these two code blocks, and new function already has handled publisher in it. So you can put any modification in the code, you can handle this procedure and copy code to your subscriber and add any modification you need in this part. And even in this example, we see about 30 lines changed. So like I said, 1,000 lines, so about 20 functions, 15 functions were created. Then the other code changes. So the changed objects, Microsoft is still changing a lot of objects with each release because Business Central has about 7,000 or 8,000 objects, and in each release, 2,500 objects are being changed. So about 1/3 of application is being changed by each major release. So it's still a lot, but again, many new publishers are being created, many new functionalities being put, many functionalities being obsolete pending, and so on. So those changes are coming into a lot of objects. Also redesign Power BI, like I said, it is not very frequently modified by partners, but if you use it, please review how it was changed. But I think it was only enhanced and easier. Now it is easier to use the Power BI integration. Item tracking lines page was also heavily updated, so it was a bit below than those objects which I showed you before. But again, this page was fixed by the code copy warning fixes, added brackets, and a lot of standard event publishers were added. And again, code logic hasn't changed. But still, there is a lot of IL unfriendly code in the Business Central, and Microsoft is still mostly adding brackets near functions and the next internal functions. So we would see also, we still see that Microsoft is making code IL friendly. Around still 50,000 code copy warnings and informations visible in the base app. Again, most of them, because of obsolete pending objects, are still used, but we still see, like I said, unfriendly code. But Microsoft is changing objects a lot and making improvements into the base app. And there are 6 new added folders. It's also good news that Microsoft is grouping the objects. And then one-click factory insights in the obsolete state pending and removed objects and functions. So what we see, the trend is what Microsoft has in the rules. So Microsoft said that the current pending functionality will be left for 1 year, and then it would be removed. And we see that in the obsolete state objects, they are making this possible. So 195 objects were obsolete state pending in Business Central 16, and in Business Central 18, they removed 100 objects were modified as removed. And you see it is like a trend what Microsoft is keeping. But it's not the case with obsolete functions. Microsoft is about 300 obsolete functions behind this schedule. And what will happen in the Business Central 19, I would expect that Microsoft will remove 400 objects, but also Microsoft can remove 600 functions in the Business Central 19. But again, our guess is that removed state objects, a lot of removed state objects would become removed, but all of those, as we've seen before, they are just simple changes and very easily implementable. And also sales price functionality is moved 1 year further, so maybe not something major will be removed, but still the count will be bigger than current. So release notes in current preview version. So I didn't have time in the RTM version. I prepared slides 2 weeks ago. So the preview version had 91 more removed objects than previous version. But also good news that Microsoft is coming with 2,000 more new standard publishers and reorganized code changes that makes code in base application more extendable. It means we would not need to make maybe modifications even in the base application, but we'll see. And also what we plan, so we plan that object upgrade and test data migration could increase by 5%, around 5%, because not many objects were removed comparing to the last version, but still it is dependent where customer modifications are. So if there is some modification in those 91 removed objects, we need some additional effort to handle in the object upgrade or test data migration process. Now it's poll time. We'll ask you, how are you planning to adapt to the changes which we introduced in the newest Business Central 18 release? And we have 4 options. That first, of course, if you don't plan, if you don't have any changes or a lot of changes in the standard, you use your own functionality, so you don't need an extension maintenance. Second is you plan to do any internal maintenance each half year. It is already planned, and of course you have SaaS solution where you are forced to do this. Third is you plan to do internal maintenance on premises, but on premises is more flexible and you can do it after 1 year or 2 years. Of course, it is recommended to do an upgrade each year. And you are forced again if you have a subscription license. And then maybe you are looking for outsourcing to do extension maintenance. So, yeah, please answer this. And I know you see also the results. And a lot of partners and participants, around 57 to 8%, planning to do internal maintenances for the on-premises solution. It's also say that in our current participants, we have a lot of people who use still on-premises solution, which is quite good. And also SaaS solution usage is increasing. Also 21% participants they are planning to do in the SaaS solution. So this is good news. And thank you for these answers. And we have also extension maintenance service in Monk Factory, which we can update by each cumulative or major release. For Business Central apps, it is applicable and SaaS. And we have a fixed monthly fee, and you can look into it in our portal. And we have even owner of the service, Andres Chivas, which is online. So if you have any question or any related question to this service, he can answer in the end of the webinar. And if you need help to outsource an upgrade from classic or RTC client to the new STL version, you can use our upgrade analyzer to calculate all journeys for free, and you will get a fixed price for us. And yeah, we offer 5 options: 2 clean starts, 1 upgrade to on-premise, and 2 upgrades to SaaS by using different techniques how to upgrade. Thank you for the poll results and for participating, and have a nice rest of the day.